Okay, first up, recently Variety had reported that Universal had zeroed in on 4 potential directors for the upcoming Fast and Furious 8. Those names included Straight Outta Compton's F. Gary Gray, Now You See Me's Louis Leterrier, The Signal's Will Eubank, and You're Next and The Guest's Adam Wingard. On the heels of that report, franchise star Vin Diesel released this picture on his Facebook page with F. Gary Gray talking in front of a board covered with Fast and Furious images. John, do we have our Fast and Furious 8 director?
Look, the studio, which is Universal, and it should be noted here, don't forget, Vin Diesel has no say in who the director is. He actually doesn't. I think he wanted, who was it that he wanted? The director of the first Fast and Furious, was Rob Cohen? I can't remember, but the director of the first, he actually wanted the first director from Fast and Furious to come back and do this one. He said because Paul Walker talked a lot about it, and so clearly that didn't happen. But it's kind of hard to deny this is what is happening. I mean, when you got these two guys taking pictures with each other, posing for Facebook in front of a bunch of Fast and Furious images, that is pretty much the de facto way of them announcing it. And I got to tell you, it is not the first name that I would have gravitated to. Like when people were asking me the last few weeks, who do you see directing Fast and Furious 8? I probably listed about 12 or 15 guys. F. Gary Gray was never on that list. But now that his name is in there, I gotta tell you, I don't mind the name at all. When you forget Straight Outta Compton for a minute, I think one of his more underappreciated films is actually Law Abiding Citizen, that he did with Jamie Foxx and Gerard Butler. Now, the end of that movie completely falls apart, and it's a terrible ending. But for the first 70%, 80% of that movie, I thought F. Gary Gray did such a great job of combining bits of action with tension and great characters and did a really magnificent job with it. When I think about that movie, now I think about that director coming to do a Fast and the Furious, yeah, I'm on board. Once again, not the first name I would have picked, but definitely a name I can personally get behind. Mark, what do you think?
I think this is definitely happening because Vin Diesel has told us all along that, hey, I'm going to announce on my Facebook page who's directing this new movie. He posted a picture on his Facebook page. I take Vin Diesel's Facebook page like the Bible.
That's
okay?
gospel.
That's absolutely how and I think Vin Diesel probably does have a say in who the director is, or he at least is in touch with the producers of the film, because all these reports that he might have been a little difficult to work with on set, that if you're just producing this movie, you want to make sure your your franchise guy is happy with who the director is. He might not have the final say, but I think it's a little bit like asking Kobe or LeBron, who do you want to coach you, because we want you to be happy. So I believe this is happening, and I'm such a fan of Straight Outta Compton. It was such a cool way to tell that story with multiple characters. You had a lot of dimensions. There are a lot of leads in that. There's a lot of moving parts of the Fast and Furious 8 film as well, I'm sure. So having F. Gary Gray come in, I think, is the right move.
Josh?
Well, I think first of all, I love Straight Outta Compton too, and early '90s rap is some of my favorite things, and I thought he portrayed that whole thing perfectly. I think the problem with a lot of when you bring in directors of a movie that isn't so much an action franchise is that Fast and the Furious 7, you were jumping cars from building to building. Like, you have to keep building on it or rein it back and make a whole different movie as part of the franchise, because it's gone this crazy crescendo. Now, if F. Gary Gray can bring it back into, like you said, like a law-abiding citizen kind of way, maybe more of like a heady kind of action movie with cars, and then finally somebody will make a VIN number joke in one of the movies. It's been 7, guys, and no VIN number jokes. It's right in your face.
Yeah, not even a diesel fuel joke.
Nothing.
Like, give us something, man.
And with all this turbo diesel VW stuff that's gone down, come on, it's just open season. But nothing F. Gary Gray has done has disappointed me yet, so I don't see why not give him the reins.
Yeah, but by the way, it was Rob Cohen who directed the first one. It's interesting you mentioned you either got to take a next step forward, because we're talking about, Fast and Furious in space or whatever, right. or you got to rein it back, which is what you said, right? And which is interesting, because I remember hearing Vin Diesel talking a bit about how when he was talking about maybe trying to get Rob Cohen or wanting Rob Cohen back, taking Fast and Furious back to its roots and make it a movie about racing.
Yeah.
And that intrigues me. Look, I love the ridiculousness ever since they brought The Rock on board.
Yeah.
Something happened in this franchise for me in part 4, because I think the first 3 are just garbage. But from part 4 on, I've been totally on board with Fast and Furious. But now the notion of taking it, turning the wheel a little bit, no pun intended, and coming back to like a racing, like a street racing thing with high stakes or whatever, sure. But I think that would, I think that'd be really interesting.
It's going to be hard to do that, man. I mean, these movies just get, it's the same problem that the Mission Impossible movies are going to have, where it's like, okay, well, we did this, the last one, so we have to up the stakes constantly.
But if there's any time that you could do it for Fast and Furious, it's now. because Paul Walker,
That's true. Good
unfortunately,
point.
tragically, is not in the movies anymore. You could really create, even though it's the same name, you could create like a total new franchise going forward into some direction. I like yours, like with Creed, going back to the beginning.
Yeah.
There's always something sexy about an origin story. So if there's something where there's some sort of origin story wrapped into Fast and Furious 8 and he can bring it to life, I would totally be on board with something like that, because cars in space, cars on Mars, I mean, you really have to go to the next level. I mean, are they jumping cars from plane to plane this time? I mean, what's
Oh
gonna
my
happen?
God, you just gave him the idea.
crap.
I guarantee Fast and
Sorry,
Furious
guys.
8 is going to have a car jumping from one plane to
And
another.
as they're jumping, there better be a VIN number joke right in that car.
Shaking hands with a Martian, know your family. It's like,
Now, what if this, though? Let me throw this out there, okay? In this post that Vin Diesel's put up, and by the way, I have met Vin Diesel. I've talked to Vin Diesel. He seems like the easiest, most fun-loving, easygoing guy. Maybe he's a monster behind the scenes. I don't know, but he seems like really great to me. But in this post that he put up with this picture that we see behind me here, it doesn't actually say, he doesn't write any commentary on it. It's just the picture. He doesn't say, we have selected F. Gary Gray. What if, let me just throw this out there. What if Universal still hasn't decided who they want as director? But Vin has really gotten behind F. Gary Gray, and he's just like, I'm just gonna put this picture of me and Gary Gray up,
Yeah.
and let the shitstorm ensue. Like,
Some studio head in Universal went to bed and then they woke up and they're like, "What's he doing? Somebody call Vin."